Invisible change, visible progress. Sacrifice comfort, gain control. Work is worship, rest is rebellion. Obedience over innovation. Sacrifice goes, serve fate. Suffer in silence, prosper in unity. The greater the exploitation, the greater the reward. Your worker, our fate. More report, more peace.
Well, yep, this is the Neon Dystopia, and you are listening to the Low Life Podcast. I am CoinOps, still, despite my best efforts. I'm here with Dan.
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Zero.
Ni hao, comrade listeners. Ni hao. That's hello in Mandarin. That's right. I'm on Red Note. It's great. I'm making friends. I met this girl, Lian.
Okay.
You know? She
Okay.
likes all the same stuff that I post on Instagram. What's the odds of that? She's into badminton, rhetoric, and iPhones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to
as you do.
send her a couple 20 iPhones or so.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, I had to send her some iPhones, but she works at the iPhone factory.
Okay.
You know, her mom's been
boxed
sick.
on.
She's missed a few shifts, so they got to make quota. You know, it's different over there.
Yeah.
But it's funny, you know, like she likes playing this game. I guess it's kind of like Sudoku, where we guess each other's bank routing number.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
it's a Chinese New Year, you know, it's a Chinese
Sure.
custom. It's supposed to be very auspicious if you can guess it. You know, she even calls me her little Western piggy. It's pretty cute.
I think
Yeah.
this isn't what you think it is.
I don't think she's into you like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, it's just a little
You know,
innocent.
the words that gave it away were routing number.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, that's not even a game that they play in France. So,
I think
Yeah.
the translation maybe had something like a little different. Maybe I'm not
yeah.
None of us.
translating it right. I
My-
guess.
Yeah, this is a new experience for everyone. I like, Well, we'll talk about that for a second. But
Yeah.
before we get started, we should mention that we have a very, very special guest on this episode. A buddy of mine from college that I never met in person. I guess
Because it's the 21st century, you know,
Yeah,
that's how
well,
things work.
everything's virtual. We're all in the cloud, and so I'd like to introduce my good buddy Oleg.
Привет, друзья. Привет, дорогие. Hi, friends. Hi, enemies. Stay warm.
There you go. Yeah, it's that time of year. It's fucking cold here.
Oh, Jesus.
And the fun fact about me is that I actually don't exist. I'm everyone's fruit of imagination, and I just decided to come here from the space.
Nice.
Oh, that does explain some things.
We'll
Yeah.
call you Oleg.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's got to stand for something. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out by the end of the episode. Anyway, we should also, before we get into what we're talking about today, which is going to be pretty epic. Oh boy, we have a website, neondystopia.com.
You sure do. Oh, my God.
Got some new cyberpunk fiction showing up twice a month, I think. I think that's what we're still doing.
New stories.
It's really good. We have a Patreon. If you want to kick us a buck, be nice if you could swing it. If you don't, there are people in California who are going to need money. So
Absolutely.
keep an eye on what's going on over there. Most of that city just got super fucked up, which is weird here in the middle of winter to talk about fire season.
Mm-hmm.
God, what else do we got? I don't know.
And if you can't find it in your wallet to donate, then recommend us to a friend. Send a link to a friend. Say, check
Yeah.
these guys out. Spread the word.
Right, absolutely. Let us be the, I don't know, cloaked mind virus. I got nothing. All right, so how did this start? Well, I've been friends with Oleg on Facebook for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And fairly recently, in the last, I would say, couple of years or so, you mentioned this thing about like the Putinization of America.
That's been 8 years, but yes.
8 years.
Oh, goddamn.
8 years,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, like I smoke a lot of weed and I had COVID, so I exist outside of time.
You missed some. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
this is something I've been hearing about for a while now. But people who are much smarter than I am, whose opinions I respect more on international affairs, have been saying, there's not going to be anything like a bloody revolution in America. It's going to be very kind of boring. And if you want to look at a model of what it could be, look at the fall of the Soviet Union, and that's something that you can really put under a microscope and see some disturbing parallels. Even not exactly a specialist like I am.
right.
Not.
I'll
like I
make
am
you all
not.
specialists.
Excellent. Yeah, because
Promotion.
the only thing I'm like specialized on are like Cold War films in America, like American Cold War propaganda films. Like
Oh yeah, I mean I grew up
Watch
with
them.
all of that stuff too.
Yeah. And somehow it didn't take either. Neither that nor Catholicism nor Boy Scouts. Like none of it took. I don't know what's wrong with me. I got a very smooth brain, they might
It
say.
took a lot more for me, but I grew up on Air Force bases on the front line, and my dad was always talking about the Ruskies.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's going to be very interesting to like hear about this because what we saw on this side of it culminated with like, I think Boris Yeltsin eating Pizza Hut. There was a Scorpions song that meant the Cold War ended. Bon Jovi brought over a Russian band, Gorky Park, to play the song Bang.
Right.
Like that was it. We're good now. And
Well, I think we all know
pick
that
a new enemy in movies. Like that's really all we experienced.
I think we all know that Sting single-handedly won us the Cold War when he released that song.
Russians. Yeah, Russians love their children too, man. None of us. It never occurred to us before that song.
It was a total shock. I didn't even know Russians had kids.
It's
God.
We do not. In fact,
Shit. Okay. So the rumors were true.
I am told that I have a lot of doppelgangers, right? So I usually have to remind people that our factory had a breakout event, and you gotta sometimes check the barcodes. Some of them are marked for good, some are evil.
Are you guys still using those big vacuum tubes?
That explains.
By the way, I actually when I was growing up, where I lived with my parents and grandparents, it was a single bedroom apartment. We had like vacuum tubes, like all that stuff. It was old school until it was not suddenly. It was like the 90s was a wild age. One day I gotta do a talk on the 90s. Today is just like a little hint at 90s in Russia. By the way, so you were talking about how the big enemy disappeared one day. I remember the story. I think it was an interview with one of the creators of Fallout, the video game, and he was asked, so why Chinese are the people who destroyed America in the nuclear Holocaust event? And he said, I was talking to one of my friends in Russia early, before creating the video game, and there was some background noise, and I asked him, what is that? He said, oh, it's the local bandits shooting AK-47 and just into the sky. They got drunk. And he said, well, that's when I understood they will never be able to challenge America again. It's so chaotic there. Well, and that never occurred. It will never happen, right?
Right. Yeah. Don't drive 10 miles outside of any major city in America. You certainly won't see that there.
I'll tell you next time the story how I got almost invited to train a militia. Okay, next time. Sorry, just somebody open a notebook. We gotta mark some of the ideas for next time.
Okay,
absolutely, we do.
Trains. Fucking militia.
Yeah.
I mean, again, though,
That's
you're
fucking
right.
with 2Ks.
You get that in Virginia, outside of DC, 40 minutes.
Oh yeah,
you can sign up for the local militia at the gun show.
Oh yeah,
dude, I could take an afternoon walk from the city of Youngstown and be like, I could literally go into a neighborhood. They found in my wife's old neighborhood where she grew up. They found 70 shell casings outside of a house,
and no one heard shit.
No. Because that's how they reported it. They were like, suddenly someone noticed there were shell casings. I'm like, what the fuck? Is there no one on this street with a phone? Jesus Christ. Anyhow, I think it would be like totally accurate battle simulator if we got like an equal number of like these people in like the Russian version and just stuck them in a room with like pool noodles. It'd be the best war. Or it's I either want that or robot jocks. All right. We don't need to get everybody involved. We can just
I'll
get
take
like
that one, please.
Yeah. So before Yeltsin ate the Pizza Hut, Oleg, where are you?
All right. So I am originally from the city of Khabarovsk. Those of you who are curious, this is right there on the Chinese border. So I'm actually an Eastern European who never visited Eastern Europe, right?
Okay.
And so the Far East of Russia, it's called Дальний Восток. It's a wild place, and we can talk about what the 90s looked there.
Yeah.
For me, the 90s is the time when I actually kind of came online and started remembering stuff, because my Soviet experience is mostly just in the memory of my parents who didn't have access to diapers and who just, watched me do stupid shit, right? And then the 90s is just my little rodeo. And we're going to touch on the 90s because it kind of connects to the entire mythology of Putin's justification of, his tsardom.
Yeah.
Tsardom, very nice.
Tsardom. Yeah, yes. Putindom. And then, let's start with the 90s. It's actually a cool period that you don't want to live through. So basically, what happened is, imagine the Soviet Union, the country where you are born, raised, and then eventually you find yourself in a factory. That's kind of your entire lifespan, right?
Yeah.
There is no in between. There is a little bleep of an army service and then a factory, and everything was more or less orderly, predefined. It wasn't very interesting.
I'm sorry, wait, are we talking about Ohio, Middle America?
You're literally talking about what they promised us and couldn't deliver.
Military service, factory job.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And then immediately in the late 1980s, still Soviet Union is alive, right?
Yeah.
They start introducing the elements of the free market just because everyone who was in control of the economy had no freaking idea what was happening anymore. The plans were no longer reflecting the economic situation, so they decided, let's just do a free market.
Blue Jeans fucked you up, didn't it?
Yeah. So imagine all of these people who don't know how to sell stuff. They know how to make stuff.
Yeah.
Selling stuff is just, it's from rotten capitalism. We don't know that stuff. And so,
oh man, I'm so sorry we gave you marketing.
So all of a sudden you have a split into two groups with a starting capital and groups with no starting capital.
Yeah.
And this is what's critical for business, right?
Yeah.
But then if you studied political science, there are three types of capital in a political system. You have the economic capital, you have the political capital, and you have three. You want to guess what it is?
I don't know. Brat girl summer capital.
That is close. Capacity for violence.
Oh,
And
right.
so-
I wasn't wrong.
You're familiar with
You
that
were
one.
not,
We
yes.
know that one.
So the people with capacity for violence were first the military, who all of a sudden had all the weapons. They were sitting on top of real nukes and no money, right?
Yeah.
And nobody to supervise them. And the other group was obviously the criminals. And then the third group was, do you want to guess?
Politicians?
No, sportsmen.
Oh.
I'm serious.
Okay.
The Soviet Union was funding its sports really well. And all of a sudden, all of these guys and girls in great physical shape with very good self-esteem find themselves with no money. And by the way, my dad was an athletic coach, high-level one too. So he was making more than an engineer or a factory worker. A lot more. And all of a sudden, you get none of that, right? You get nothing.
Yeah.
But you're physically in good shape, and you know how to break bones. And some of them were doing also Olympic shooting, right? I mean, so you also know how to shoot. And all of a sudden, this is how the new generation of Russian mafia started to appear. Like they all flowed into the new generation of the so-called Novые Русские, new Russians.
Okay. This kind of makes sense. Now I'm keeping an eye on every fucking Olympian in America. Somebody got to keep an eye on Ray Gun.
I mean, it's not even the Olympians here; it's the CrossFit gyms. Come on, man.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we're gonna talk about the combat sports and all that stuff, right?
That's fascinating, though. I hadn't put together the athletic piece of the puzzle, but that makes perfect sense the way you describe it now.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're not always shooting, right? Sometimes you just need to break some bones and then shoot. And so the 90s in Russia were kind of a legendary time. They're still like very ingrained in the culture because it was the time when it seemed like complete freedom, but also freedom from consequences. And the Russian culture just doesn't know how to handle it. It's like, we don't know how to self-organize. We need to be like, somebody needs to physically hold us by the balls at all times.
Yeah.
Our balls are shaped with like it's very convenient to grab them. It's just,
with the handle,
doesn't work
ergonomic.
They're ergonomic, yeah.
They're very ergonomic. Yes.
They feel like bags of sand.
That's wild. But again,
so the 90s left big imprint in the popular consciousness. And that actually, I'm actually leading to the premise of our like conversation on Putinization of America, because at some point, Boris Yeltsin, the guy who was drunk probably 101% of his waking hours.
Now you just made me think. It was Gorbachev. He's the one that did the Pizza Hut commercial. It wasn't Yeltsin.
Yeah. It was. Yes. Gorbachev was the Pizza Hut guy, but I didn't want to interrupt
was
you because
the vodka commercial.
That's right.
He was a living, breathing vodka commercial. Yes. Right. He like look it up. His
for sure.
Of him dancing on the stage in 1996 during his second election that he somehow won. Like this guy bounced from 2% support to winning an election. And I mean, in Russia, winning usually means cheating, but regardless, still from 2% support bounce. Impressive, right?
Yeah.
But at some point it couldn't last. And he was kind of a guy with a big family of friends in the government.
Okay.
And he just needed to basically live without being killed, which is kind of the problem of every person with power ever in Russia. Like, absolutely, it's never about like, what do I do in my second term? It's usually like, how do I step out without physically being
being wiped out?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is where he found the guy who looked like a person with no face, no past, no meaningful skill or biography. Do you want to guess who that guy was?
Putin?
His name, his last name starts with a P.
Okay.
That was, his nickname was, what was it? I'll when I remember, I'll tell you. Okay,
all right.
So anyways, so he was just also involved with the crime, but he was on the government side of crime. So it was it really crime then?
Right.
And he was actually
funny how that
in
worked.
The past, yes. And in the past, he was a KGB officer, very, very low level. But this guy also. Oh, by the way, his last name was his nickname was Moth. M-O-T-H, Moth. Yes.
He loved lamp.
God damn it.
So this guy with no particular biography was very attractive as basically somebody to put on top, and basically he would do what the gray eminence behind the throne would tell him. That was the reasoning behind it.
Sure.
Yeah. You
were
want a
great.
rubber stamp dude. You want
Yes.
somebody who's just going to like green light everything, you know?
Absolutely. And in fact, there was this type of people in the Russian political elite. They were called systemные либералы, system liberals.
Okay.
So the idea was these were the people who were not in the opposition talking about the human rights and all that stuff. They were people for new liberal economy. So the liberal part is referring to the economics, right? It's
Yeah, I was going to say we have neoliberals here too. They lack spines.
Yeah, so these were the people who were integrated into the system of governance and into the family with a big F, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, they were looking for and this is a quote, a liberal dictator that brings about the necessary free market reforms.
I swear to God, this is the next Fast and the Furious movie. You got family, you got a big villain. All right.
And you have vroom vroom, right?
A dictator light to help bring on capitalist reforms. Great.
And yeah, very Pinochetian, right? And and it was also, you got to get the context. It was after the 1996 elections where the opposition to Boris Yeltsin was the literal Communist Party of Russia.
Okay.
Right. So
all
it's
of them at once.
I heard they had a bad rap.
It was Zyuganov. The name, the guy's name is Zyuganov. His face is that of a brick, and Google him up. He looks like a brick, and he's still in the government somewhere. And I'll talk to you about like how the Russian current Putin democracy works. But anyway, so at that point, something interesting happens, right? So they bring their moth guy, and they want to bring the necessary market reforms. And so far, everything's working out great, right?
This dude's entire head is a cinder block. Holy shit!
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And they kind of, the idea is we need to pump him in popularity, so we need to start a small, victorious war. The war, they didn't want to risk it with outside actors, so they decided to go second time in Chechnya.
Yeah, cue Chechnya. Isn't that when they faked the bombing to start the war?
Well, it started with a series of bombings, and there is still a lot of theories about who organized those bombings. Right? There was a story also about the so-called in the city of Tula, I believe, there were these sacks of quote unquote sugar that were found. They were claimed to be a part of a spoof operation by the FSB, which is kind of Russian FBI. Yeah. And after that, the bombing stopped because the Russian FSB just decided, okay, enough bombings for now. We tried, you caught it. Okay, let's not go any further. But anyways, they used it as a justification to restart the Russian national habit of invading Chechnya. By the way, that happened 4 times in the past 2 centuries. Just FYI, invading Chechnya is kind of just a national hobby.
Pastime, sure.
Yeah, calling it a habit. It's just like, yeah, we have those, but I think it's just usually some drunk dude throwing darts at a map.
Well, I don't know. What would qualify? Texas? No, Texas is its own country, right?
I think that's the thing. We've had so many like failed wars since like basically World War II that like now it's just Americans are looking for the ultimate, which is other Americans. They've just run out of things.
That's going to be the nice thing about this incoming administration is we're not going to be fighting any foreign wars. They're going to turn the border into a war zone. So we can do it all here at home for cheaper.
Well, maybe not. Maybe you'll also have some foreign adventures, but we'll talk about it.
Adventures.
That's one way to put it.
So that is how it started, right? And so on this kind of small victorious war, quote unquote small, quote unquote victorious, they essentially build up his reputation. And by the way, how they ended it was they figured it's just hard to fight all the groups of people who are actually fighting in Chechnya. So instead, they paid one of the clans to just take their side, and then the leader of that clan got bombed. And then his son, who used to be before that a traffic inspector, became the leader of Chechnya. You might have heard that name, Ramzan Kadyrov.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's more or less the strategy we did in Iraq, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. He's a literal like Bond villain.
Oh, he's like I don't know. It's interesting. So officially he's a professor of several colleges officially.
Sure.
In fact, I doubt this guy actually knows how to read and write.
Is this the guy with the beard I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
He's like an MMA dude. He's literally beating the living hell out of people.
He's got like the Cybertruck.
I don't know if he actually knows how to fight, because I don't think people who he beat the hell out of.
Oh no, they were like prisoners. Yeah. It wasn't a fair fight.
Is this the guy with the Cybertruck technical?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the.
Okay.
I heard. I had a class, like one of my last classes was just about like trouble spots. You know, like we talked about Northern Ireland, and we talked about like I can't remember because I'm thinking right now just about how he was telling us about this guy, you know, Kadyrov, and how he's just like he would take his entire entourage to Moscow from the capital in a line of just Ferraris, like red Ferraris. And they would have tanker trucks following them because they would run out of gas like every fucking 100 miles or so.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, this guy's a lunatic. You know, like he set him up like he sounds like he's really fun, and then it gets into the grime of it, and it's just like, oh wow. Like he was appointed leader when he was too young to be, so like his uncle was the regent in his place for like a year or two.
Yep.
Yeah, like it's interesting and very complicated.
Yeah, his dad got assassinated in a stadium. But Ahmad Kadyrov was assassinated in a stadium.
Yeah.
And again, all of these people used to fight against Russia.
Like you said, they just paid off the most powerful clan that used to be against them to like rule all the others.
Yeah. One famous quote from Ramzan Kadyrov: "I killed my first Russian when I was 15." Which, by the way, I don't know if that's true. Like the guy has like this mixture of evil and at the same time adorably comedic elements. It's like I feel like at some point it will be revealed that it's like what's the name of the comedian who plays oh man, I'm blanking on this.
I know, it's like late at night.
Borat, who?
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yes, I feel like at some point Sacha Baron Cohen will just reveal that all these years I was Ramzan Kadyrov. That's my best role.
Boom!
And everyone is like, yes,
of course,
yes, bravo. So, anyways, that was a detour. I'll go back to this because there is no way to tell Putin's story without the story of his sidekick.
This is the manufactured war that Putin was made a hero because of.
Right.
Yes. And so for a few years, he also has a pretty good run because of the so-called жирные годы, fat years. So what happened is he inherited an economy that had been recently through a full default, right? So for those of you in America who don't know what default is, this is what's going to happen probably in a few years.
Get ready.
If you have a school loan, you're probably sure. Yeah, you probably felt this.
That's true. So basically, the currencies dropped, but it also made the locally produced goods very competitive in the foreign markets. So all of a sudden, the economy is booming, right? Everything is going well, and actually the gas prices are going through the roof because a certain big country invaded Iraq. And
I heard about this.
Yeah, very obscure episode. But essentially, the fat years were the time when the economy was so good that the civic society just decided, you know what? We don't care. You do what you do. You know, whoever gets bombed in their houses, just make sure it's not us. And those journalists, you know, as long as a literal journalist doesn't like fall dead on my balcony, I don't care. That's okay. And so this was the time until roughly the end of Putin 1.0. And just a reminder, there was a little blip of 4 or 5 years when the president technically was J.D. Vance. Dmitry Medvedev.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
The
I remember that name.
Yes, also known by his nicknames. One, radio control president, and second, the miserable one.
Mm.
I almost feel bad for him.
I aspire to a better bad nickname.
So this
Correct
is
me. Let me ask a question and correct me if I'm wrong here, because I remember reading about this years ago, and like the gist of what I read was that to try and like make things fair, the government had given the citizenry like a voucher system for like the in common state property, and then eventually gangsters just went around and like bought them all up from people and beat people up and took it all.
Yeah, you're going back to the Yeltsin era, but yes, these were the auctions. What was it? Z0WL1F3. So anyways, so basically the idea was, so you are the Soviet people who are no longer Soviet people. But in the Soviet Union, everybody technically on paper, you owned a piece of every factory, or the factory that you work in. Right?
Yay.
Your apartment is not technically yours. It is the factory's apartment, for example, or whatever you work in, right?
Yeah.
If you work in a brothel, it's your brothel's apartment, but you own a little bit of that brothel. It's co-op. Like everything is co-op. And so everybody got that little piece. But, while it was technically a co-op, nobody really had any decision-making there, right?
Yeah.
So people kind of just do your stuff, get your stuff, and kind of do your stuff. And all of a sudden, everybody gets these vouchers. And the word voucher wasn't even in the lexicon. So people had no idea what that is. Just a strange name, piece of paper. What do I do with it? How do I drink it, essentially? And so some people knew that using this, you can actually buy those entire factories for very cheap. And once you bought these factories, well, you're an oligarch.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, and so sometimes mafia, sometimes just some people who are very quote-unquote smart, and sometimes mafia would chase the people who are quote-unquote very smart. They would get these vouchers somehow. Doesn't matter how you do it. Right?
Yeah.
Do you sleep your way into a voucher, or do you buy it? Do you steal it?
I do believe I've seen the process in the documentary Hardcore Henry.
So eventually, like all of these people who ended up owning essentially Russia were just either people who accidentally did it, or people. Remember, I started with the starting capital. There were few groups who had it. There were the thieves, and there were the party officials. When I say party, Communist Party officials who are no longer Communist Party. They were just people who inherited the treasure chests. Like imagine America disappears, like falls apart, but the federal Republican and Democratic Party offices have a lot of cash accumulated. Imagine that they are the people with cash. And they
it's really hard to imagine.
Unbelievable. So this is what happened, and this actually brings me to the little kind of deal that Putin made with all of these so-called oligarchs, right? And I struggle to call them oligarchs, because in order to have oligarchy, you need to also have capital that's convertible into power, and sometimes they did.
Yeah.
But that's how Putinism kind of was a transition from oligarchy to a whim economy. And what happened is I trust this article. It was describing it like this. So early on in his first reign, he gets together, the lovely guy, Volodya Putin, brings together all of the oligarchs from the entire country and just says, listen, I know you don't pay taxes. And it's, you know what? I don't feel bad. That's okay. But we have a few things to do. We need a few favors to secure. So you pay up, or if you don't want to pay up, it's fine. Just do me a couple of favors. I'll make you an offer. You will probably not want to refuse,
Uh-huh.
and it's fine, right? I mean,
It's fine.
no big deal. Just
It's gonna be fine.
Let's work like friends, right?
Wink.
Wink, wink.
If everybody does what I say, it's gonna be fine.
Right.
Trust me on this.
Yes, and in the Russian mafia, there is even the word "понятие," which means the understandings. Right. This is
Nice.
not like we're not talking about the elegant omerta of the Italian mafia, right? Which is
No,
brutal
but-
too. But here it's like like two buddies who got drunk on vodka, and you trust me, I trust you, I respect you, you respect me. Let's
It's
set
just
the house
like
on fire.
it's every word I learn like that is just this like beautiful angled concrete building in the middle of a bleak field. It's just like, oh yes,
Yeah, it's brutalism. This is brutalism,
Hell yeah.
essentially.
it is. It's beautiful. I
Political brutalism.
like it. It makes, I don't know, it tickles something.
So
There's an honesty about it,
Oh, for sure.
is what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. So the honest, lovely guy, Volodya Putin, shares his understandings with the rest, and most of them they've lived through the Soviet Union and the 90s.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, sure, okay.
So they got
One
a line.
guy, Mikhail Khodorkovsky, says, you know what, Volodya, get fucked. And basically he said, we already transitioned to the European or I don't remember the name of that auditing system, but basically in finances, there is a standard, international standards of accounting and auditing. We're good. The taxes we don't pay legally, which is the most Jeff Bezos kind of thing to say.
Oh,
But
yeah.
basically, the taxes we don't pay legally.
Sure.
And go ahead and try to find some flaw with our ledgers. We're good. We're all good. Oh, did I tell you to get fucked, Volodya? And so Putin, according to everyone describing him, grew green.
Okay.
I think it's the reptiloid skin was, coming through the mask. But anyway, so he got green and purple and whatever color and said not a single word. He was not prepared to speak human tongue for a few hours.
Did steam fly out of his collar?
Yes. The eyes growing red. Yes.
Aruga.
And so next thing you know, all of a sudden, a bunch of security services start raiding the Yukos offices. Yukos is the name of the oil company that Khodorkovsky led.
Right.
And so, everybody is rounded up and put to prison and, to jail, basically waiting charges. And fun fact, nobody actually surrendered their boss. Everyone stayed loyal to the firm.
Huh.
But it doesn't matter. So basically, I think the charges were that he stole oil from his own company. It was comically bad, right?
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
And again, I want to be clear. I'm not describing some Mahatma Gandhi, right? It's not Nelson Mandela. This is Jeff Bezos of Russia.
Right.
So, but he was all the money he did not pay. He did not pay legally. This is how fucked up it is, right? So, all of the tax evasion was legal, legitimate.
Right.
I'm not drunk, I'm business drunk, right?
Right.
I mean, that's basically what we got going on now. And we used to have a 90% tax rate for the rich, and now it's 10. That's
Yeah.
legal.
And-
They are
and
only
they just
paying
trade.
10%.
They just trade fucking real estate.
Yeah.
It's really, that's it.
But anyhow, it's just that framework of, that's legal for us to not pay taxes. Fuck off. Who are you to say it's not?
Yeah. Stop me.
And he did. So.
Yeah. So, by the way, I want you to reimagine all of this playing out in the White House with different actors. Imagine Jeff Bezos and Tsar Donald kind of having that conversation. Just imagine this playing out. And I'm pretty sure at some point it will play out with maybe not Bezos, maybe somebody else, right?
I mean, just looking at how everybody's acting, Zuck.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you remember reading this, but when Bezos went to kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago, Musk just came in the room and basically dipped his balls in his mouth.
Yeah.
You're having
yeah.
a private meeting between Trump and Bezos to, like, smooth everything over. And Musk just kind of like bombs it. Like, hey, what's up, buddy?
Ugh.
So that's our reality now.
Well, actually, okay, so let me throw a second oligarch into this, right? Okay.
Sure.
So there was another counterpart to this that showed how it is done. And that was Roman Abramovich, the lovely guy who owns still, I believe, football club Chelsea
shit.
in England, right?
All right.
And this guy was, do you want to guess what he was trading? What commodity he was trading? It starts with O.
It's not vacuum tubes. Damn it, I'm
It's,
out. Opiates?
Essential oils.
Close enough.
Oil.
Close
God
enough,
damn it.
yes. And so he got the message, right?
Yeah.
The WIM economy works as you do some random quests. Let's use RPG terminology. You do side quests
Right.
for me, and I let you do your stuff. You don't do side quests for me, you either pay up real hard or you follow Khodorkovsky. So that was the
Is
deal.
anyone there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
Oleg, we lost you, bud.
All right, sorry, my internet.
I don't know if you can
dropped.
hear me.
Didn't they?
Up there. Right. Here.
Hello?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Cool. I'll clip that out. Where
Where did you lose me?
like 15 seconds ago.
Oh, that's nice that I'm counting every second. All right, so basically, Roman Abramovich kind of got the message, and he decided that's not a problem. I got it. So what do you want from me? And Putin says, you know what? There is this region that nobody knows what to do with. It's right next to Alaska, except it has no oil. It's called Chukotka.
All right.
Lovely place. We need the governor who will invest his own money into it. Roman, you look like a governor. You have really good governor energy about you. And money. And we don't want to spend money on this region. What say you? And Roman said, well, can I keep Chelsea, please?
Yeah.
He said, you can fucking keep Chelsea. Fuck, you can bring Chelsea to Chukotka to play. And
Bonus points. You
never
can see
thought of
Sarah
that.
Palin from there.
right.
Way
And,
better across the Bering Strait. Yeah.
I don't think the Chelsea football players were eager to fly to Chukotka, but essentially that's the WIM economy. This is how it works, right? So at some point, don't be surprised if at some point you have Musk appointed as the governor of what's one of the worst, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And be like, just do some investing. Just I don't know. Just do some investing. Just do it. Can I keep Tesla? Okay, fine.
Sure, why not?
So this is the WIM economy. So at some point, we here or you here in America continue calling them oligarchs. But in order to have oligarchy is the power of the few. If you have no power, it doesn't matter that you're few, right?
Right.
And so this is kind of where the power continuously got drained from them. They were still allowed to keep their personal armies and whatnot, but really the armies were asked to, again, follow the whims of the Tsar. Right. And another example, since we're still going through oligarchs, do you remember this guy who looks like a goblin, Yevgeny Prigozhin?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
pretty recently.
Yes, very handsome young man who made his money very honestly selling food to the Ministry of Defense of Russia.
That's right.
Just to know how well he did his business, you can watch 1001 video in which Russian soldiers complain about getting 2 cans of some meat that's gone green that was produced in 1980s. Like, this guy knew his catering business. He was good.
His nickname was Putin's chef.
Yes. He also he understood business really well, that you need to diversify. So he diversified into essentially capturing several oil rigs in Syria.
Oh, yeah.
And while at it, he also formed a mercenary company
Yeah, private military company. He was.
Yeah, I mean, just in time business investment. And then something happened on an airplane and he tragically died. So this is an example of whim economy going rogue. Like
we
it was
talked about that for a long time. Why did he get on that plane? It was nuts. I remember when all that went down.
That was some
crazy
batshit weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That was an absolutely batshit weekend.
Oh, it was like so many batshit weekends in a row. By the way, you know that the official version is, well, one of the official versions. Russia is actually good at producing a lot of conflicting official versions. But basically, one of them was that he and his chief of military staff, who was actually like open Nazi, Utkin. So they were playing with grenades. They were high on cocaine and they were playing with grenades, and one of the grenades fell on the floor. That's the official version.
Oh my god!
Okay, it's not the official. Again, this is a official version. In Russia, you have a official version and then another one, and several more official versions.
That was true. How would anybody know? That's ridiculous. How would anybody know that? Did they communicate it by radio from the cockpit before it happened?
Like Tower, we got these guys in the back, all high on cocaine, juggling grenades. What do?
No, it was probably like, "Hey, buddy, throw the grenade to me."
Yeah. Here. And then he's like, "Do a barrel roll," like, this is that is batshit hilarious to me because it's just you don't need to fill in the blanks. Like that is.
Well, just the entire concept of how accepted it is in Russian culture that oligarchs just commit suicide a lot. There was that whole series.
Yeah.
It's not really accepted.
Front. It was Sad Oligarch, this podcast series, and it was just incredible. The journalism that they're doing, uncovering suicide after family annihilation after suicide of these Russian oligarchs that just decided to go home one day and like take their own lives. It's ridiculous. Like at anybody even entertains that's a truth behind that.
Yeah.
Wait. But there is a term in Russian language. Okay, so Sam, I want to make sure that you're writing it down.
Okay, got it.
The term is "siv glaza." It's peace in my eyes. So pissing in your eyes means saying something that is so obviously bullshit. It's like it's testing how long you're gonna be just staring at it and nodding. Right?
Well, that's the idea of the big lie. What the hell? I did an episode about it, and it was guy wrote a book basically about propaganda. The book Propaganda.
Yes, but it's also
that's right.
But like the concept of the big lie is something so fucking ridiculous that you're like, I don't even know where to start, and so you don't. Because there's some lies that are big enough where you're just like, well, I don't know about that. But then you get another thing where you're just like, I'm not even engaging with it. Sure, fine, whatever. Sure.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of that.
That's all it's been. For like 8 years
you don't need
now.
to try a spoonful of bullshit to make sure it's not chocolate,
Yeah.
So catching up with
the oligarchs falling in line or going the other way.
Yeah, and so at some point, but however, as long as you do the whims for a long period of time and you do not take a road trip to Moscow on a tank, you are good. You will not be juggling grenades in an airplane, right? And so at this point, we kind of arrived to the area of, war economy, tariffs through the roof, right? Rampant stagflation, the currency controls, that kind of stuff.
I can't relate to that at all.
Well, okay, let's see. Can you relate to 20% inflation? Like this is like next level. It's a little bit. Yeah,
we're not quite there yet. We complain when we have to pay $3.20 a gallon for gas around here.
And so this was kind of the transition.
Gas is different than groceries. Okay, gas has got American blood in it.
Yeah.
And so
these eggs just have Matt Gaetz in it. Thank you.
Don't start. Yes.
That and some bird flu, I'm sure. That and some bird flu.
We'll be right back. No.
And so, but it actually is interesting. I kind of have to highlight this transition from a liberal dictator that brings about the necessary free market reforms to the war economy that cannot stop. And I'll tell you about why it's not stopping and cannot stop. And all of that kind of complete hogwash in the economy. It all started also with another thing, and I'm actually kind of making a detour to state security and geopolitics and all that stuff. You know that in the early 2000s, Russian political elites were thinking about joining the NATO.
I do kind of remember reading about that.
Yeah. So the idea was, the war is over. We want to join NATO. We have China on the border, so why not, right? And then Putin actually did have some negotiations about that. And his problem with it was that somebody said, can you please stop killing journalists? Just to, to entertain the idea.
Here in NATO, we don't so much kill journalists.
We just give them tea with polonium. Come on.
Stiffens you. Makes me strong. But basically, he's like, but I like killing journalists. And they're like, but can you just, kind of moderate your killing of journalists? He's like, no, this is fun. You guys
just Rube Goldberg it up some more, okay? Don't make it so direct, dude.
In America, we just get somebody to buy the paper to shut up.
Yeah, well, democracy dies in something. But yes.
Behind a paywall? I don't know, yeah.
Have you tried paywall in them? Paywall in it sounds brutal. Tell me more. So basically, he backed out because killing journalists is just who he is, right?
Hey, man, you got to have a passion.
Yes. This is why you accept me for who I am.
That's how they control the fourth estate.
Yes. So he essentially balked on the entire idea, and then he got his radio-controlled president temporarily in office to invade Georgia. And the fun fact about it was that just before it, there was a book by Tom Clancy. It was one of the techno thrillers, which has absolutely nothing interesting except the fact that Russia invades Georgia.
Was it Cardinal of the Kremlin?
I do not remember.
Because that book sucked. But Red Storm Rising was a riot.
Okay. Yeah, that was a good one. But Cardinal of the Kremlin, is that the one where they try to kill the Pope? Forget it. Let's not talk Tom Clancy. Move on.
Yeah, fuck Tom Clancy.
Yes. So Georgia got invaded first by Tom Clancy and then by Vladimir Putin. And that was, I don't know what broke Georgia out of those two. But essentially, everyone was really criticizing Tom Clancy for daring to imagine this absurd scenario where Russia invades Georgia. And then all of a sudden, isn't it natural that Russia invades Georgia? Russia has always invaded Georgia, which is true. But basically, that was the time when kind of he decided, you know what, I'm doing my own thing. I'm going to have my own casino with blackjack and hookers. And so, and he also got away with it, right? Because you have Bush, then you don't have Bush. And Bush didn't do much for Georgia, and then because Bush thought that Georgia is a state of the United States.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Obama comes, and Obama knows what Georgia is, but he wants to do a reboot. And then Putin invades Crimea, and Obama is like, "Oh, God damn it!" and kind of does the Obama and basically rides into the sunset. And that's where we have another little-known president, right? And Putin does it again. And this is kind of the logic of all dictatorships. He kind of started with really getting high on the, this political power of a small victorious war.
Yeah.
And Russia happens to be a country that's kind of, if you look at it on the map, it's kind of positioned to not win, but to fight wars that are, by definition, are going to be small compared to Russia.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's just how do you resist this temptation? And so it was just something that's very hard to resist if you're a politician. The other day, I listened to a podcast where somebody, actually an American, pointed out something that I, as a Russian, I didn't internalize it that way. He said, just Putin was doing what he thought he could get away with because he wanted to stay on top. Like, I'm not saying he didn't want to invade. Like, he's a psycho. He doesn't mind invading. But,
Right.
like, it worked. And just to agree with this statement, why he was doing it, maybe not necessarily because he just loves invading. Do you know that there was a time when he wanted to try to go green, and like he wanted to see if maybe going very much in the direction of like green,
Solar
maybe
and
energy,
shit.
maybe
Yeah.
not energy. Okay, no, he loves selling oil. Like I don't think generations of Russians or post-Soviet people know how not to sell oil. Like just
Right.
oil is everything, right?
Right.
But there was a period when like it's the conservation of like wild nature, and like repopulation of all of these national parks was a big thing.
I mean, where's he going to ride a horse shirtless?
Well, before
Yeah.
that, there was a time when they were releasing wild storks into some national park.
Okay.
And then, in order to do that, you need to. Apparently, I learned a lot about how it's done. Apparently, the conservationists, they fly this little delta wing, right? It's a one wing, like how do you call it?
Like a triangle, like a
Yeah. So you're supposed to fly in order to guide them, but you also need to be dressed in all white, tight, like basically white, tight suit.
Yeah.
And it has a little triangle on your head that imitates the face of a freaking stork. Like it, imagine something more comedic than comedic, and that's it, right?
I sort of. This is up there with the turkey cannon. I love this.
Yes, and so somebody said, let's try to get the liberal voices to support Putin. So they decided to dress Putin as a motherfucking stork, put him on this delta wing, and fly. And they took a photo session with this.
You don't see those photos. You don't see those.
I need to see these photos.
One second. So, there must be.
I don't think we can do photos in the chat, but we'll definitely. Yeah, you should say. You know what?
I'm gonna find them and send them. For some reason, when I look up Putin as stork, it shows me a picture of naked Putin riding a freaking stork. It's not.
Yeah,
it's
well,
not but it was really. Oh yeah, I found some. So let's just say.
Yeah. Just message me those. Like I'll use those for the message art.
Beautiful.
So he did that.
Episode art. Yeah. Anyway, yes. Okay. So he dressed up like a stork. and
flew, and for some reason it just didn't resonate with the Russian national soul. I don't know why.
I feel like this detail getting out is going to get the four of us killed.
That's the one. This is the one. All the political murders that happen, it's because somebody just sends a picture of a stork, just like.
Afterwards, he got back to the office. He came home and he's like, "I should have done the bear. Fucking stork."
Oh my god! Imagine if he had like a producer's credit on The Revenant. I want to do the mocap and throw DiCaprio around a bit. All right. Oh God. Okay. So that's great. I'm going to be thinking about that forever.
So he did the stork and it didn't resonate. And then at some point he decided, well, I got to fucking invade, I guess. And so, and that resonated again and again and again. And so it's very hard to stop in its dictatorship because I don't know, we are hardwired to work that way. Like, maybe gathering around the leader when the times are tough or whatever, small victorious wars, right? This dictatorships must invade the way.
So let's just make sure times stay tough.
Right. That's the logic, right?
Why can't he be addicted to crocodile?
Yeah.
You can, but for a very short period of time.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be better than being addicted to fucking invasions, man. Like it's like I don't need that much. Sometimes I just need to like rub one out in the shower and I'm good for the day. I don't need to like rally my forces and invade Pennsylvania. Like it's I can't understand the mentality of that. Like it seems exhausting.
Well, so there was lately one big country that was really looking to by Panama Canal and
I can't
obtain
imagine
a
who
Greenland.
that is.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and in fact, painting Canada in a little.
I just got to
He has
state.
a little Twitter dungeon that's Truth
Yeah,
Social.
I gotta
where-
just let everyone know I'm on, like, I will fight for Canada, but only for, like, limitless access to Putin. That's
It's dangerous. my
Did I
friend,
hear
dangerous.
Putin or Putin?
I don't
Yes.
care. Yeah,
I don't know if
Putin.
Canada has a limitless access to Putin.
The Putinization of America.
Okay, that's the one I'm on. Okay,
See,
I'm totally signing up for this trend.
see, they think they think like, oh, we're gonna take Canada, and like Putin's gonna take us.
Yes.
Like that's just come on, gravy, curds, French fries. What the fuck? Anyway, go on, please.
So basically, the hockeyization of America must happen because that's kind of the logic of the dictatorship. You gotta like create the influencers really know this, right? You have to create events that create excitement in the audience, in the following, among the followers. And so, like, little things like, I don't know, invading Greenland and, obtaining Panama Canal and maybe something else. But it has to be close up. When
Isn't
you do
there
it
like
far away, it doesn't work.
isn't there like fucking 500,000 or like 50,000 people in Greenland? Like I can just imagine like a couple of small towns, and this news pops out and they just look at each other over their tea like, the fuck? Like, what did we do?
They're sitting there smoking moss, and then all of a sudden-
56,800 and change as of 2023.
56,000 people. What the fuck are you talking about, Donnie?
Well, they do have a lot of nickel.
They have a lot of what?
Nickel. It's how do you call that? Metal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like Nickelback. It's nickel. Like it's
Nickelback.
It's the other part of nickel, not the back of nickel.
See, that is
The
how they
nickel.
remind me
But see, this
Right?
nickel's worth something.
of what they really have.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's very hard to resist, especially if you've been in power for a very long time. Very hard to resist invading shit.
Oh, I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we have whole political parties that build campaigns on it. It's
And
it's
then
just amazing. It's you almost have to look at Putin and be like, well done. Like one man has
Like on
managed
one
that.
hand, yeah.
Like we have to change the guy out every like 4 to 8 years.
Yeah. So we never really get to
Sometimes
build up that momentum.
Sometimes they come back though. Sometimes they come back for another.
I think Putin's career is all about reimagining Putin as well. It's like, some people like to reimagine Disney princesses, and in Russia it's just reimagine Putin. Now it's just longer periods of time. Now it's 6 years. It used to be 4, then 5, then 6 years. And then they ran out of 6-year intervals and they decided to update the constitution so that, and the constitution says, you can serve only 2 terms. So once you update the constitution, they said reboot. You can do 2 more terms,
Right.
because the previous terms don't count. So, anyways, this guy has been he's tired. He wants to step away. Remember what I started with? You want to step away, but Yeltsin had Putin. Putin doesn't have a Putin to replace him. Like he needs to find somebody who would look like. You see, like he was a man with no face, and he knows that as a man with no face, he absolutely squashed them all, right? He ate them all.
Yeah.
He grabbed them by the balls and swung them up and just beat their noses off. And like, how with that knowledge, how do you find somebody who is lesser than you,
Yeah.
and at the same time trust that lesser person, that it's JD Vance of JD Vances, will not absolutely out Putin you, because like he had a JD Vance, right? He had Dmitry Medvedev.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
Georgia
the prime minister, right? He kind of swapped out with the prime minister for a while.
Yeah, I mean, he did a little switcheroo, and like the Medvedev invaded Georgia for him. He was like, no, like, Volodya, I don't want to invade you. You gotta fucking invade
that's
Georgia.
right. Okay.
No, hold on. Can we maybe make a scary face to Georgia? No. You invading Georgia.
He should totally. Here's his best move. Pick me. I'm nobody. I have no power. They'd never see me coming. And it would be
Absolutely.
the funniest thing they could possibly do. It would be like King Ralph shit. I would just show up over there and I'd be like, all right, nothing
In
would
your
be
pajamas, you gotta show up in your pajamas.
100%. I'll have like a
doesn't work
Burger King
otherwise.
crown on, and I'll just be like, all right, here's the deal. I don't want to ever eat beets. Everything else can go on as normal. We'll talk about the Ukraine thing in about 10 minutes. Where's the weed? I need some weed. And then that's it. Russia would be very different after that. I'll tell you.
Very quiet. Like for roughly 17 minutes, it will be very quiet.
Yeah. And then I'll be like, okay, who likes industrial music? And then that's it. We're off to the races.
Everyone's yes. Prodigy will show up in like every town. Like it will be like the. It wouldn't be a world tour. It would be a Russia tour. Prodigy just showing up everywhere. And it's also that Deep Purple is super popular there. Like the only band that would actually stop in fucking Khabarovsk in the middle of nowhere next to China would be Deep Purple. They would show up. And they would show up like every year. Like I'm fairly sure it takes them roughly a year to get there. And they would show up. They would like come home to Great Britain, just like put on new pants and fly back to Siberia. It's like ridiculous, these people.
I love that though. It's like Deep Purple? Fuck yeah, man.
It's
okay.
Specifically Deep Purple. Like nobody else. No, like Russians don't care about anyone. Nobody cares about Russians. Just Deep Purple there.
That's very specific.
Well, I'm preparing you. I am kind of grooming you for the position. You just go up and be like, highway star. Just do me a favor. Just play me some Deep fucking Purple, and they'll be like,
was that Smoke on the Water? Was that them?
Yeah, Smoke on the Water. Yes. Well, pick anyone.
God damn.
Yes, they'll be like, oh, geez, he truly selected the best.
I'm telling you. I'd have a fun prefix name that I don't know yet. It'd be some Russian word I learned, and I'd be like, you have to call me that.
You talk to Mark Davidev.
I'm sure.
While this man is alive, talk to him, ask him, and he'll be like, what are you smoking? And then he'll give you the nickname right away.
Oh, totally. 100%. Oh, my God. I'll message him tomorrow.
But also, okay, so while we're going to the war, I wanted to tell you why it can never end. The war has to be a forever war.
Yeah.
Because, so Putin he jumped into this not knowing what he was starting. Because, so Russia is a big rust belt, right? You have rust belt, Russia is just a rust outfit. It's a rust ensemble. And so all of these factories that the Soviet Union built, and back in the Soviet Union, even when you're in the factory that you're supposed to produce macaroni, do you know that it's the same width as the 7.62 millimeter shells? Like, you are supposed to be convertible to wartime production at any times.
That's my new favorite macaroni.
Yeah, you take your 7.62 macaroni noodles.
7.62 Mac.
Yes.
AK Mac.
Yes. So
Jesus Christ. That's kind of, I'm okay. Look, I'm kind of a function over form person. And I have to tip my hat to that a little bit. Like, that's one of them things where I'm like, if you're ready to scrap all the time, you better be able to flip your macaroni fucking press into a bullet press at the flip of a hat. Just pop this insert out and boom, now it's not an open-ended tube, it's a bullet.
Like, and if you ever ate the Soviet macaroni, you will know they taste the same way.
Oh, I bet.
That brassy, oily taste.
Oh, do I detect a bit of degreaser? Here's the crazy thing. Like, growing up in Youngstown, I'm straight up like, if I would go to any of these cities and I'd be like, yeah, all right, where's the bar? It's really crazy, like the similarities that I've always kind of encountered with it. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, it's the same culture. It's absolutely.
Yeah. Money's gonna money, and that's the thing that happened here is they just sold the fucking mills. That was it.
So we got a forever war that we can keep the government.
The Rust Bucket lobby. So basically, all these factories that had nothing to do
Yeah.
for 30 years, right? 20 years.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, 30 years. And then all of a sudden, somebody tells them, okay, so Ukraine attacked us in their own goddamn territory. They attacked us brutally. They invaded us right at Kiev. And so things are not exactly going according to plan. But your Soviet forefathers happened accidentally to have produced 50,000 armored vehicles, most of which taste like our macaroni and cheese. Meaning that they need some refurbishing.
Gotta do something with them.
Yes, and you still have all the equipment that cannot produce anything but the 1960s armored personnel carriers. I would like you to please do.
Just fucking tank factories.
Yeah. And it's all refurbished. Like, I mean, they do produce some new tanks, but for the most part, they're just refurbishing the old rust buckets.
Oh, man.
And
I mean, at least in America, in our tank factories that we don't need, we make them new.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So I'm one of those nerds who actually, follows the OSINT and, research pictures from, the space satellites. And I did not actually research ones for the American bases because America actually makes them not available, unlike Russia. But you have out of 2,000 Abrams tanks, I think, according to the report, only 13% were maintained properly. Then I think I may lie about the percentage exactly. So 26% were maintained like shitty, but shit enough to actually be refurbishable. And lots of bases just, they were given manuals. Like your military actually gives people manuals, but people don't read manuals. Maybe they don't know how to read manuals. They won't. They would be very offended if they did. But actually, you have a lot of really fucked up Abrams tanks because they have turbo engines, and they get destroyed by dust in the desert.
Oh,
in Russia, it's just different climate. It's it's swamps and freaking tundra, and so it's slightly different. But Abrams tanks, they don't trust. They don't trust. They just get covered in dust. So you also have a lot of stuff to refurbish. So let me just say that if King Donald at some point decides that some cartels need a beating somewhere in Mexico, that would be, for a few years, the Rust Belt would be just having carnivals on every street. And this is the dark thought I had there.
Right.
Like, this is a forever war that can happen. Here's the thing. You don't want it to go efficiently because then you'll be using all these high precision weapons, very expensive ones, producing very good revenue for Lockheed Martin, great stuff that takes very little labor to make.
Right.
It's expensive machinery that you need, but little labor. But if you manage to grind entire divisions into dust and you need to refurbish a bunch of M60 pattern tanks, that is Rust Belt being busy.
We would be in trouble. We would be in trouble if we had to refurbish Vietnam era tanks to put them out on our border in Mexico. That's not a good. We would not be in a good place.
Well, and that's the thing. Like a lot of the shops that I saw in, say, like Ohio and Indiana are not production shops. They're refurbishing shops. They're constantly, getting these parts that are like where you would stick like a roller. Like one side of a gigantic fucking aluminum roller would slide into one of these 20-ton, chocks or something like that. So they're tooled up for refurbishing. As we stand, it's just there's not that many of them anymore.
And there isn't demand, really. Like, who needs it?
Yeah, who needs it? And they don't really train you for it. Like, you got to go to school for it. Usually, if you're not in good at the shop, it's. I don't think that we could pivot nearly as nicely as Macaroni 47 rounds. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so in Russia, they created this pro-war lobby of people who don't want to go to war, but they want to work in refurbishing factories because this is the first time they've seen money in 30 years.
Right.
They really much like it. And another thing is manpower market. Do you know what it is?
All
right.
Not really.
So in Russia, they technically have conscription two seasons a year.
Okay.
But these are 18-year-old kids that Putin just doesn't. Well, he would happily send them into a meat grinder, but he tries not to. He still does sometimes, but for the most part, it's very politically unpopular. So instead, he doesn't want to do a full-scale mobilization.
Right.
Instead, he needs to bring people to serve as contractniki on a contract.
Yeah.
And very often it's just you're voluntold to sign a contract as a conscript soldier. But also he needs to attract new ones. And it's, they had the sign-up bonuses and all that stuff, right? And it kept going. It's grown, I think, 5 times since the war started. It's like ridiculous amount of money for some areas. Like you can see the volume of money being paid as a startup bonus. That's like 30 years salary. Years of salary in that region, like in some regions. Obviously.
Like the bonus is
Incredible.
30 years of salary.
Yeah,
God.
But the problem is, you're not gonna spend that much of it. Well, I mean, some you will spend to equip yourself because Russian military doesn't actually equip you that much. They give you like maybe one rusty spade and maybe a boot, and they can pat you on the shoulder, which costs $5, but and eventually, like basically, you equip yourself with shit and sticks, and also your family is left with most of that money,
right?
And as you depart, very often these are places, and these are people who don't really know how the banking system works, and frankly, it's debatable if their city has banking system that's worth using. So instead, it's like, we gotta spend it now. It's imagine you won a jackpot in Youngstown, Ohio.
Yeah.
And like not you, Sam, but like some of your neighbors, just like they haven't seen money in 30 years. You won a jackpot. What do you do with it?
Well,
what would they do? What do you think?
They would come for me because I would have a gold-plated cyber truck. No, I don't know. I would be really quiet about it. And I think they just passed something in Ohio that you're allowed to be anonymous if you win a big jackpot, which is pretty nice.
Well,
but then I only have to wait for somebody who works for the lottery agency to come kill me instead of everyone.
Well, so in these areas, people just invest into electric appliances. This is the currency. This is like it you gotta do it. Well, imagine you live in a wooden house with a restroom outside of the house, and it's minus 40 degrees Celsius outside in winter. Like you just do the thing that just your body aches for. And I'm not saying some of them don't invest money smartly, but let's just say most of them don't. Right?
If you're fucking cold, you are going to experiment with plugging a space heater into an extension cord into a...
Yes. Buy a lot of extension cords. With my first million, I buy a lot of extension cords and finally warm up my restroom. That's possibly a plan. And so you basically sell your husband or grandpa to the war effort to heat up your house. Well, whatever it is they do, basically what happens is people delegate their children, fathers, grandfathers to the war effort. And by the way, this is Russia, right? The country with like the demographic curve is very much slanted toward old people. Like we had a big war, so like the generations are smaller and smaller, right? So it's demographic issues, but also the money that gets paid gets immediately spent. Like it doesn't get reinvested into anything, and so the inflation goes up. It's like it goes crazy, and there's nothing the bank can do because the banks say, well, we are going to increase, the central banks say, we're going to increase the rates. And those people who get the money don't care. They're not going to borrow. They're not going to sell. They're just going to go buy a bunch of stuff and spend it quick while they can. And in fact, the governments also cannot stop because they need the manpower, right, for the meat grinder.
Right.
And they also created promotions. And I shit you not, the promotion is bring your husband, get the bonus. Like literally, like exchange. Yeah,
that is dystopian as fuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say comedic. It's kind of humorous. Okay, I'm Brett.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm Brett. I'm dead inside, so I cannot feel bad about it. So there was a case where a girl literally she was a siren for this guy. She basically dated him and basically 69'd him all the way to the conscription office and got the bonus. Yeah, like the guy had a few pretty good nights, probably. Just that worked out really great.
I am glad
really,
I am old with a bad back and married. Like all of those things really. I hope that helps.
So
God damn, man! Wow, like see, that's something you don't think about.
It's
that's
a
really
war that can never end.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think like we're kind of sick the same way. It's just like we have our loud, wars where they're looking for yellow cake because of 9/11 for some reason. And then they have like the quiet ones where you don't really hear about it except for maybe like one or two news sources, being like, oh yeah, they bombed this wedding.
Well, no, the absolutely most disconnected thing to me is just that the right over here is actually campaigning on stopping the forever wars, and I'm like, who the fuck do you think started them?
Yeah, exactly.
You guys got us here, and now you're like, we'll fix the problem we started.
They're going to stop the wars abroad to just do stuff at home here. It's going to be very scary.
Well, at home, I think North America and South America, I think that's going to be the thing, because dictatorship work on, like, you got to work on completely different. I wanted to say logistics chains, but they don't really think about logistics chains or shoulders. Oh. They're like, it has to resonate somewhere in the gut of the regular Joe. And when Putin tried to do the thing in Syria, and by the way, you know that the official justification was that we have to stop ISIS in the foreign frontier. And the thing is, now ISIS actually is committing terrorist attacks in Russia, and they blame Ukrainians for that, which is kind of also funny.
What a shit show.
That's right.
They were also saying like, well, ISIS trades drugs, and who is the absolute king of the Octagon trade? It's Octagon trade is the biggest trade node for drugs, for basically all sorts of drugs in the Middle East. That was Bashar al-Assad, the guy who has had Syria.
I heard about that guy.
Yeah.
So they essentially just decided to join his side. They at some point, the lovely guy Yevgeny Prigozhin and his Wagner company was sent to Syria, and that's where they kind of conquered. There is a Russian word, adjat, to press over, or to press out. So basically, to steal somebody's property. So they took over several oil rigs and all that stuff.
What it was is Assad had a bunch of oil rigs and oil facilities in places that were held by the rebels, and he couldn't get them. So he told these mercenaries, "Hey, go out and liberate these oil rigs, and we'll give you some of the tax revenue off of them in perpetuity." Not the Russian government, to Wagner.
Right.
Yeah,
Wagner had deals directly with them to get money for, like, basically being pirates, going out and liberating oil wells from "quote unquote" rebels.
And you know how it it ended, right? You know the end of the story
of that?
Well, the U.S.
that specific story.
No, I don't. I remember. I think we were talking about that when we were talking about like Wagner and all of this happening.
Oh yeah.
But so I don't. Yeah, how did that go?
So in Russian, again, I'm going to give you a lot of terms, so somebody might want to write them down. So there is an expression, "их там нет." They are not there. They are not there.
Okay.
Or there isn't anyone there, something like that. It's hard to translate. But then it transformed into the word "их там нет," which doesn't mean anything. It's like it's a way to call a person who is not there. It's nonsense language. Russian is a nonsense language.
You're just calling out, like you're just in an empty forest. You're just like, hey.
Yes. Basically,
been there.
It's deniable military force. So somebody's there. The little green man, as you might have heard, right? The little green man was the way somebody called basically some of the special operations forces in Crimea when Crimea was being annexed. And so basically they used Wagner as the deniable force in this operation. Yeah. They sent it there. And one thing that didn't work out was that the U.S. military was actually supposed to support the Kurdish independence fighters, and the somebody, some general in the United States Army was like called the Russian general and said, "Hey, we are seeing a column that is technically going to this like location, and we wanted to make sure we don't bomb you." And the Russian general said, "There is nobody there."
They're not there.
I was told to deny.
Seriously,
Excuse me, let me open the communication.
That's
Do
what I was
not
talking about.
admit that we have a military force. We do not have a military force there. And so the United States military said, "Okay, then we're gonna do our national hobby," and they just blew the hell out of them. And
they hit him with like everything. I remember seeing a lot of coverage about this. They hit him with like AC-130 gunships from the sky. Like it was just.
There was a Call of Duty like fucking death match, and you had a kill streak going. Like,
yes.
To for the younger listener or older listener, who the fuck plays that anymore? Anyway, go ahead.
That was crazy.
Yeah, it didn't go well. Let's just say it didn't go well for Wagner. And by the way, fun fact: so Wagner is official, or used to be when it still existed. It still exists. Actually, the funny part is it's still existing.
Yeah, they changed the name. They did Blackwater.
Yeah.
They pulled the Blackwater.
Yeah. So basically, it was officially registered in the Russian Register of Business Organizations, and you know what it's registered as?
Fishing,
catering.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Management consulting company.
No,
right. Yeah, right.
McKinsey,
that too.
Just like McKinsey.
Yeah. And the funny part is, I don't know what you know about me, but I'm a management consultant. So I admit I am not a mercenary. Just FYI, I'm a different management consultant. That's not my specialty.
Wink.
My accent is a coincidence.
Right.
Not all people with a Russian accent are management consultants who actually,
have hobbies.
Have hobbies
with a noodle press.
Who like
makes
to
bullets.
play with grenades on an airplane. That's not how we spend I spend my time on an airplane.
Oh, totally not.
So essentially, this didn't work out. Basically, when Putin tried to sell Syria, it was never a popular or rating boosting operation. It was, just fighting on the far frontier. It just doesn't resonate that way. You're fighting people who are like, the Russian audience is very like nationalistic, yes, chauvinistic, yes, racist as fuck, but it just doesn't touch the same strings of Russian spirit, right?
Doesn't hit the same chords.
Yeah, yes, thank you, chords, strings, chords, so they had to go for somebody nearby, and that's how the second Ukraine happened, and all of that. And each time, I gotta introduce one more word because it kind of explains all this. Like, it's so chaotic and so absurd. Another word is многоходовка. It's a hard word. Don't try to remember it. Essentially it means multi-move strategy in chess.
Okay.
Basically, like you think several steps ahead in chess, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
Or combination of some sorts. The problem is it started off as just kind of justification for any bullshit that nobody understands that they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you take Crimea? Now we have sanctions. Well, многоходовка. That's just basically you're not smart enough.
We have a phrase for that here. It's called trust the process.
Yeah, well, okay, but this is trust the process. This is you're about like I trust the institutions. In Russia, it's like we're playing 4D chess.
Actually, no. Trust the process comes from, I think, Philadelphia sports, where their team was doing so poorly that was the excuse they would give for why they were doing so poorly. Like, look, these guys are losing so that they can get a better draft pick next season. Trust the process. Trust the process. Got it. It's a coping mechanism.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, yes. Like многоходовка. Yeah, okay. Fine.
It's kind of like this. You do the thing knowing full well you have time to come up with a justification for it. So it seems like you're doing 4D chess, but they're like, we can't tell you now. We'll tell you later. And then when you come up with a story for it, and it's usually something really fun, like
isn't it
juggling grenades on a plane.
He meant to. Isn't it like what QAnon is about? Like it's
100%.
Yeah.
Isn't it trust? I don't remember if they call it trust the process, but it's
Theirs was
something
they
you
had
gotta
one
trust,
too.
Oh, they've had several. Yeah.
And that's the thing with like most conspiracy theorists. They have they come to their conclusion first, and then they're trying to fill in the blanks
Put the
to get to
pieces
that point.
together. Yeah.
And it's so exhausting, man. It just is. It's like, I'm glad you can just leap to that conclusion, but the rest of us over here are just trying to make sure there's no lead in the pipes. So have fun with your weather machine. Like, I don't know.
So up to this point where we're talking about, the Crimea, the Ukraine invasion, I have to say, I was very surprised that Ukraine didn't just kind of like fold in a very short time. Like,
Yeah.
I think Ukraine was surprised. And I mean, one of my buddies right now is serving there in the front lines. He showed me his drone footage the other day. Like, some people send each other nudes. My buddy just sends me drone footage. He's like, look, their electronic warfare is so dense, but like you gotta like operate it like you're playing a 2015 or 2024 game on a machine from 2015. Like, this is like the controls are all fucked up and like everyone's screaming at you and you're like, look, right at the end. Yeah, that was good. And it's like you cannot see anything. It's just like some 4 pixels and then they turn into 2 pixels and it means something. It's better, but it's crazy. It's when people say that the murder of that United Healthcare CEO was the most cyberpunk experience of the past years, I'm like, I have to flip my laptop physically because like people in freaking virtual reality glasses sit like literally next to like these are stoves that they have to feed with literal wood in order to warm up in winter, and
warm in the bunkers.
Yes, and they're sitting inside their bunkers with a cat on their shoulder, like playing freaking video game, destroying 1950s.
The modern face of POV drone warfare is terrifying. Fucking terrifying. They just send them out. They're hunting people in the field.
Yeah.
You could be a Russian deserter and like a Ukrainian drone pilot. It's like not going to let you surrender. They're just going to kill you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and they started clipping like pistols and shit to it. I was just like, oh man. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We had that a few episodes ago.
Is the newest one. I think we saw that one on
the shotguns.
Yeah.
The double shotgun drone.
Yeah.
There's a story about it.
There's footage and it's sick. It's really sick. I was like, well then. Because that's all you need.
There is some seeker footage, but just like, so for a second, breaking the comedy, actually be very selective about what you watch on Telegram. Telegram is basically the place to watch all of the non-edited, and this is not a promotion, just saying, if you do need to learn it for some reason, there is some dark part in you that just needs to know. Just make sure you time it. Don't watch too much, because like human body can be disintegrated in very different ways, and you will see them all very quickly.
Gun cam footage is its own whole thing. And like, as we're talking about it, I remember one of the first times where I looked at the internet was like, oh damn, that's some shit we got into, was like mid 2000s in the Chechenian War. I saw some Russian soldier get his head cut off. Like video clip.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know exactly which video you mean.
I was like, "Holy shit, that's some shit we done got in."
Oh yeah.
And that was my girlfriend's little brother. He was 16. I think I was like 21, 22, something like that. But it will forever stay in my brain, that moment, and from this time.
Yeah, in the late aughts, I remember like hitting up what the fuck was it? Live Leak. Yeah, they didn't give a shit for a minute. They would show you things like whatever. I saw what happened to fucking Hussein on that. And it was like,
the journalist over in the... Yeah.
There is a speculation in Russia that a lot of things that Putin is doing is because he watched on repeat the execution of Muammar Gaddafi, who apparently had an object shoved up between his buttocks. And
not great.
Not... Out of all ways to die, probably this one is in the top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, bottom 10. Sorry. In
Yeah.
bottom
The
10
worst.
oh, okay, maybe for some people top 10, but bottom 10 for Putin for sure. And so, like, he was so shocked by this.
Huh.
Some people say that his invasion of Syria was just an attempt to help a fellow colleague, dictator colleague, to basically stay employed.
Right,
And then now he's crashing in his house in Moscow. Well,
Not be dragged through the street as
yes, yeah.
fascist oligarch dictators tend to be historically.
And by the way, Bashar al-Assad's official justification of escape was that I actually intended to fight to the death. I went to my Russian friends at the military base merely to because they had better radio, and I wanted to coordinate the troops. And then somehow, I exaggerate, but he basically says I almost stumbled into an airplane and found my way to Moscow.
I got bonked on the head, and the next
Oh,
thing you know, I woke up.
Right.
Yes,
'Cause he was trying
I
to go
was
to
looking
the
for a
fighting,
restroom. I
and
was looking
what
for a
happened
restroom, then somebody
was-
closed the door and flew me to Moscow.
And then
I
when
was
I woke
distracted
up on
by
the
a guy
plane, it
juggling
was already
grenades.
flying on the plane. I didn't, I'm not going to make him turn around. So
It looked
Here
like
I
a
am.
breezeway.
yeah. Put the luggage over there. Yeah.
So
Good
that's
Lord.
actually the theory. Like I nobody can check.
Did him and Ted Cruz hang out? They're both
In
real good on
Cancun,
the
I'm sure.
cool exit.
Mhm.
Good Lord. This is, yeah.
I gotta. So I'm going through my notes, and I have actually several more terms to share here because
Okay.
they all connect
Nice.
to all the perpetual wars, and I feel like I wanna drop some cool lingo here to feel like I'm Philip K. Dick, creating all the drugs and devachkas from the. He didn't call it Clockwork Orange. How's the book called? I forgot.
Which
No.
one? Oh my
The
God.
one that Clockwork Orange is based on. Like, it's funny that everything that Philip K. Dick wrote has such funky hippie names,
Yeah.
and then they come up with the most like dystopian names for the movies that are just absolutely slapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Clockwork Orange. Oh my God! And
What
it's
did
like
he had was it the one with the drugs? The Choosy and Candy?
drugs.
fuck was
Yes. Well, because the idea was that they borrowed some. Well, it wasn't the main idea, but one of the things is that they borrow so much Russian slang
Right.
into the culture. Like drug is friend, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
Burgess in Clockwork
Burgess,
Orange.
Anthony Burgess, that's right.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, you are
Which
right.
one was it?
You are right.
But I mean, the similar style of writing in a thing of Scanner Darkly,
Mhm.
Yes,
I
Not
think so.
dissimilar.
There it is. All right.
and
Yeah.
the same kind of dystopic kind of law
You're right.
enforcement mind fuck. Anyhow, we could do a whole episode just on those comparisons.
We're gonna go back to that. So few words. So one is that I'm gonna translate because it's either way nobody's gonna remember it. So mutiny on your knees, right?
Okay.
It's bunt на коленях. Okay, if you care. So this is the term. This is also very like dictatorship 101. This is about direct rule. So at some point, the cult of personality is built up to a degree where virtually all roads have to lead to Rome, and
Mhm.
all of the like information roads need to lead to the Tsar, right?
I am the only one who can save you.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am the one to say yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And basically, at the same time, nothing gets fucking fixed because what incentives does anyone have to fix stuff?
Mhm.
If you fix stuff, then the Tsar might think that you're good at your job, you might get popular, and you need to be fired. Instead, they are going to keep the people who don't fix stuff, and then they're useless and thus loyal. And so in this
The
bullshit,
mediocrity, nice.
Mediocrity. I like that.
mediocrity, yes, nice. Or kakistocracy. It's a Greek word, right? The ruling of the worst. Kakistocracy.
Yes.
And so it started before it, and in fact the expression is I think coming from Count Tolstoy, from Leo Tolstoy. But basically, it started back in the 19th century, where the peasants would beg their barons, their landlords, to fix this, fix that. But it's always like they would show up and kneel and kind of beg for fixing something like most basic, like you absolutely should do this, but they're going to act like you are absolutely the god of this kingdom if you do this, right? They beg, they humiliate themselves. And so this kind of, the tradition is deeply ingrained in the culture, unfortunately. And so during the war, there was an explosion, and I'm saying the war, the latest war, the Forever War. There was an explosion of soldiers who are making these videos on Telegram, complaining about like ridiculous shit, like we are, holding such and such position, and it's funny that in today's war it's possible to have like pretty fancy, mobile device and absolutely no shoes or something.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so they're saying we're in this position and we have literally no shoes and like no drinking water. We get here's some water we got from Puddle, and this is a dead rat that we're eating, and we have AK-74s and absolutely no toilet paper. And so they're kind of begging the good Tsar to come and fix it, because the idea is, and this is also like it's very deeply ingrained in Russia, good Tsar, bad boyars. Хороший царь, плохие бояры. So the Tsar is great, he's just misinformed. Some motherfucker there just doesn't give him the right information. But if I literally beg him and show him, I don't know, all of my freaking, scabs and
hey, I'm happy to be here, boss. I'm happy to be doing this for you, but need a couple of things.
This is exactly what Prigozhin did with the war, Minister of War.
But he did the opposite. He decided to flip the script. He was like, the Tsar is good, the boyars are motherfuckers, and I'm not going to be on the knees. I'm going to be like, he was, if you translate what he was saying, he was just like calling the minister of, like, the army chief of staff, army chief of staff. He was calling him all the slurs, and like he was trying to pretty much flip the script. And at some point, I think he started to slip into even being very close to calling Tsar that way, but he didn't. He was calling him like the tired old grandpa, something like that. But he didn't go as far.
This is funny because like Alex Jones does both to Elon Musk. And Joe Rogan. Like he's your best friend or you're a piece of shit, but we're on the same side. Like, depending on how much cocaine he's done that day.
Respectfully, yes. Like, yeah. So if they did cocaine together, and whether they didn't do cocaine together, whether it's good cocaine. So anyway, this happens. And so this kind of direct rule and cult of personality are kind of starting to hit the point of, like, Putin used to be really good at finding these newsworthy events where some 9-year-old girl would say, well, we are poor, we don't have little Christmas tree for winter, can you please fly to us in a blue helicopter and bring a Christmas tree? And Putin on national television would be like, well, I got this little message from a little Tanya from the Shitville State, Ohio, or whatever. Sorry, nothing bad about the great state of Ohio. But,
we're doing awesome here, dude. Like,
absolutely theater.
Yeah, so he would basically do this like cringe comedy on live TV and bring the freaking tree to this little girl, because this is what you do in your free time, right?
This is where Mr. Beast got the idea, isn't it?
Yeah, he was Mr. Beasting before Mr. Beast. He was doing it before it got cool. That's how good of a man he is. And so at this point, however, when you get like literally like dozens of those like mutinies on your knees, in a week, there is no point responding to them, and at this point you actually you flip the script, you completely wall them out, completely isolate them, like you don't react. And in fact, who knows if he even knows about them, right? I mean, at some point you just, I mean, how many text messages do you skip in a day, right? So
most of them,
yes. And so at this point, this is kind of a genre that's just like it's now growing into like the third generation of like postmodernistic self-commentary, and I just wonder how far it's going to go before they actually realize they have AK-74s and they can kill their officers. They complain about, right? I mean, at some point you got to figure out that talking to your phone does not solve a problem as well as this AK-74 does.
Yeah.
And that you are issued.
I found this to be the case at Walmart.
That's all right. That's too good. That's too good. I cannot follow that. And by the way, I gotta give you the latest meeting on your knees from like a couple of days ago, because it's so bizarre. It jumps few levels beyond absurdity even by Russian standards. So we're going back to lovely guy Ramzan Kadyrov. Remember the Borat of Chechnya, the great Borat. So
it's like guy, Borat meets Grimace a little bit.
Yes, yes.
But into MMA.
Oh, we're gonna talk about MMA. Sorry, I forgot. But okay, so this guy, he also every head of every region in Russia is given quotas for essentially recruiting contract soldiers. Again, remember, only contract soldiers can be voluntold to serve in the front lines.
Voluntold.
Yes. So he was also offering a lot of really good money in his region. And it doesn't matter. You can go to that region and apply even if you're from a different region, right? So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. We've had some guys. Some weird little guys have done this.
Yeah. So essentially, some folks not from Chechnya go there, and they're brought literally into a dungeon and left there. And then they're like, "What the fuck? I mean, I
came here to fight. Yeah,
I hate Ukrainians. I'm a fascist. Like, what do you want from me? What did I break? What rules did I break?" And so what turns out so Ramzan had a little scheme. Some Chechen soldiers that don't necessarily fight in the front line, but they're there in the war zone, right? Mm-hmm. They get drunk or high and they drive their cars, their Lamborghinis and whatnot, their cyber truck technicals, yeah. And they get into trouble with the military police, and they go to prison, to jail at least. And then, but no troll left behind, the saying. So the troll king cannot leave his trolls behind. He has to, like, if you're Chechen, I'm the only one who can fuck you, basically. That's his rule, right? So, like, you're gonna get fucked, but by me, not by anyone else. So hold on, contact your parents will talk to me and I'll fix it. And what he's doing is and this is actually recently became a broken story, and it's all over the Telegram, like all of the Russian Nazis are now freaking out, like, what the hell? And the Chechens are like, well, that's the thing, you got played. So what the scheme was, he takes hostages all of the basically people who are willing to fight against Ukraine.
Right.
There. He takes them hostage and they exchanges them for the Chechen soldiers that got into trouble with the military police. He has his own hostage situation going on within the Russian military.
Wow,
that's literally fucking cold. Like, it's not an even exchange at all. You have like bonus cards you can give up. Here, I don't need these guys. I got doubles.
And what's
I don't know
funny
who the fuck
is
these dudes are. Oh yeah, give me my essential soldiers back. Holy fuck, dude, this is fucked up.
And the Russian military is also happy because they get these hostages back and that they can send straight into the meat grinder.
God
they
damn
cannot
it.
do this with some Chechen soldier that is in jail, but this one's go straight into the assault unit.
I'm not lying. I'm reeling right here because I'm thinking back to like when I was a kid, you go to the barbershop, they'd have Soldier of Fortune magazine sitting on the table, right? And you'd read about some of these things, and these guys would be like, yeah, I went over to Rhodesia. And it's like, I hadn't considered the possibility that you would do something like this. Go over there and be like, I am so fucking ready to fight like your enemy. And they're like, yeah, come
Hang on.
And then you can just get traded. They take all your shit. They take you. You're just left there in your underwear, and you're just like, yeah, get over there.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ, that's so fucking amazing and bleak.
It's,
oh my
it's
god.
several levels of absurdity. That's like, wow, like the story
That's-
keeps going, and I feel like it's gonna have more. Like in Russia, there is an expression: just when he thought that he had reached the bottom, somebody knocked from below. And that's where the story keeps going. Like I feel like there will be more pages to it. Like
keep me posted. That's fucking wild. Holy shit.
And by the way, so he also has a feud with the it's Desherega Rusich. It's basically a unit of literal Nazis fighting in the Russian Federation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if I'll surprise you, but the Russian Nazis don't really like the Chechen people and vice versa, right?
Right.
I'm not talking about like regular Chechens, right? I want to be clear. Like I'm sure there's lots of normal Chechen people who just like fuck. You know, they treat it like I treat Putin, like fuck, yes, absolutely. This is embarrassing. And so, but I'm talking about like the Kadyrovites. And they mutually hate each other. So one of their leaders, I forgot his name. Basically, he got fame before he became, the military guy. He got fame because he was literally eating dogs.
Okay.
Posting it on the local on social network. Basically, he was just like he would kill puppies, eat puppies. He was curious, very curious little child, and he wanted to know how they taste.
Anything for the likes, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, doing it for the gram has taken on like
he was going one step further than Liver King. That's what I'm saying. And so this guy was, let's just say he was one of the few people who was talking pretty rude things about Ramzan, the great Borat of Chechnya. And so at some point, and basically one of the kind of very classical moves that Kadyrov has been doing throughout his entire career, and everyone under him did, they like to take people hostage and force them to record apology videos. It's literally, and it's like, it's almost its own genre. Like there are hundreds of those. I'm sure there is somebody who just collects them all. Just like some people collect Beanie Babies, some people collect the apology videos from Ramzan's little dungeon.
I believe it.
And so, and it's always like, we spoke like true men, and I respected his power very much, and he did not put a bottle of whiskey up my ass. Absolutely no. He was very respectful, and I wish to apologize officially
through a funnel.
Right? And so basically, this guy, all of a sudden, this guy who eats dogs and who is a Nazi, who says all of these pretty rude things about the great Borat of Chechnya, suddenly finds himself in Great Borat's little dungeon. It's not Great Borat, it's one of his like lieutenants, but either way, so one of his lieutenants' little dungeon, and is like, well, he's a great guy, and he looks miserable through entire recording. Like you gotta see it just to
very
understand
sincere, I'm sure.
Yes, he looks so miserable. Like I don't know if he actually has that bottle of whiskey up his ass at the moment of that video. It's horrible. It's I didn't feel bad for anyone on that video. That's one of those rare videos where you like it's sadistic, yes, but you cannot possibly feel bad for anyone.
Sure.
Like it's not your Quentin Tarantino movie. It's like a few steps below, right?
Yeah. This is like snuff film. Like this, we're approaching like Hostel.
Bad dudes.
Yes.
Dudes. Man.
So this is kind of
let them
another
fight.
another genre that exists without the machosphere and of Russia, right? And there is this kind of machism subgenre that's essentially people like Kadyrov and Putin. They love to appear on combat sports events. Next to retired action movie stars, and it's like
doesn't really strike any similarities either.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's kind of another thing that just never truly, like you cannot separate those things. Like you cannot be a dictator who is, I don't know, shows
into
up in a
collecting
museum.
Beanie Babies.
Like if you show up in a museum or you're dressed as a fucking stork in the sky,
Yeah.
something just I don't know. Do you guys feel this little tickle in your stomach that tells you that this is the great ruler that you have to kneel before? No.
Yeah.
But like combat sports and like on the judo match, you're like, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Shirtless horseback riding.
in a short, yes.
Mhm.
So it's resonating with the working class, I think, because it's like there is people who are powerless, who don't stand up for themselves in a work setting. I'm not saying they never fought. I'm sure they know how to punch us, to throw some mean punch. But like if you're stuck in this situation where, you know what, you're gonna work for some money back for your entire life and break your back and kind of for the rest of your life you live somewhere in, I don't know, Ypsilanti with no chance to ever leave Ypsilanti. And I have nothing against Ypsilanti, never been there. But something told me to mention Ypsilanti. So in that case, you're kind of in a low power position, and all of a sudden just kind of being in proximity to combat sports stars, or even like, fuck it, Jake Paul, which is, I don't even know, what do you call this genre now? It's influencer.
Yeah.
Right? It's
exhibition sports.
He doesn't actually punch people. It's kind of WWE of the new iteration. So
It
either
is
way, this is
almost
connected
that,
to the,
it's almost professional wrestling of manfluencers, like
yes.
Glass Jaw Cobra Tate.
Yeah.
So this is the magicalism. I think this is like very like as soon as you see somebody doing this kind of combat sports event, you can tell that this is like a little Putin, a little Great Borat, something like that.
You're just making me think back to when like Musk and Zuck were supposed to do
Zuckerberg
they were supposed to get into a fight.
Musk's mom said
heel
no.
turn.
Yeah.
It was like, come on, I'm into fighting now.
Yeah, do you guys remember when I was on that ultra fucking glide with the American flag surfing? Remember,
I
guys?
like fighting.
Yes.
I like surfing. I'm a normal boy.
Mhm.
Yes, I too like to eat sweet baby race.
And just put it on the bookshelf behind me.
I gotta make it look like a human.
I am a real person too.
Apartment.
That being said, I think he would have absolutely beaten the living shit out of Musk. Just say it.
Well, absolutely, because he actually trains in MMA. I mean,
yes. He actually does the work, which is also kind of the difference between them.
Man, I could shovel like our entire driveway and probably still kick Musk's ass.
Oh yeah. Especially if you still had the shovel in your hand.
Yeah, no, I'd be like sore. I'd be like, let me take these dones real quick, and then I'm going to beat your ass. Like that's just how that would go.
So that by the way is where the difference between Russia and America is, right? So by the way, I'm going to introduce one more word, pindos. It's a Russian slur for Americans.
What is that again? Say it again, please. Spell it.
Pindos. Pindos. It's not like it's not a slur that will make anyone like clutch their pearls like, oh, you didn't. No, but it's kind of like, here's the thing about Russia. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, every Russian wannabe dictator or just a chauvinist, fascist, hates America but wants to be America. The thing is not that America does wrong. It's just like they do it.
Yeah.
Why do they get to do it?
Yeah.
I also want to invade some Iraqs, right? So this is the thing. And so I think when we're talking about Putinism, I'm talking about Pindos Putinism, right? Because it's not going to be like exactly like in Russia.
Right.
You don't need to do exactly the Russian thing. You should have had something in the 16th century that is similar to Ivan Grozny, Ivan the Terrible, right?
Yeah.
And you just didn't happen to have that, right?
Nah.
So it's the challenge.
I mean, it depends on who you talk to. Some people have opinions of how Sherman's march to the shore, but like,
true.
John Brown seemed pretty cool.
I kind of feel like one of the bigger differences. It's like, and I totally lost it. Go ahead.
That's right. This has been a lot. I'm going to be unpacking this even as I'm editing it, and then after it posts, and then for weeks afterward.
No, okay. So one of the biggest differences is, the Soviet state had a collapse, and then they went into a new system.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, the collapse wasn't like a physical collapse of governmental system. It's more like, corporations have bought it all. There's no longer the nation state, the network speech.
Yeah.
That happened sort of like.
But it happened several times, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It happened several times, right? It's
different layers have been on Paul. You could talk about the Telecommunications Act of '96. You could talk about the abandonment of equal time on the air, kind of.
No, I'm going way back. Like if you think about the Harding administration, that's like 1920s. Yeah. I'm talking the Roaring 20s, right?
Yeah.
That is the time when America decided, okay, done with progressivism, like go back to the Gilded Age, except with more gambling.
Yep.
And prohibition, surprisingly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of actually what I was thinking about it. This is what informed the theory of museum and casino. Do you want to hear it? This is my view of like American. I was trying to think about the American system because it's slightly different. It has some similarities.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you always have two parties. And okay, when I say you, I'm not saying it like you. I'm saying like us. Because I'm kind of here and I'm an immigrant, which means I'm probably more American than a lot of Americans.
Heyo, that's not wrong.
In a way, not to claim.
No, it's true. No, honest to God, like years ago when I was in Chicago, I did the Windy City Story Slam, and the one that I won was talking about how like my cousin, after living here, being adopted when she was 6 months old, and living here for 28 years, finally got her citizenship. And we talked a lot about, just the test you have to take. And I was just like, ask me a bunch of the questions. And I was like,
nope.
Literally all I had to do was like fall out of my mom in Ohio. That was it. That was like how I got in. I didn't have to take this test at all. I barely learned any of these facts in high school. And I liked history.
Yeah.
A lot of this shit, it's like Common Core, like where
Weird
they teach you
focus.
for the test kind of stuff.
Strange focus.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it's, by the way, that might change, right? They're trying to roll back the birthright citizenship, so which means that people who fall out of their moms in Ohio will have to kind of answer a couple of questions.
Yeah,
but which is fine. Like it's not hard. Most people will pass, but
sure.
The point is, like, so you have two-party system, right? And it's like goes way back to the origins. Mm-hmm. And the parties change. Like you didn't have Republican and Democratic parties originally, right? You had the Federalist and something.
Whigs and
the Whigs, yes. But it's always
Don't forget
party.
the Warhawks. Literal party named fucking Warhawks.
Oh. See, that's a great name for a video game, and it was. Anyway.
Yeah. Whigs doesn't resonate as well, right?
No, like Afghan Whigs, speaking of Ohio, one of Cincinnati's finest. Great band, I'm telling you. Fucking rule.
So two parties. A party of a museum and a party of a casino.
Bingo.
All right.
Nailed it.
So the museum party. So the museum, what is a museum? It's lofty, it's clean, it's subsidized, it's regulated, it's beautiful, it's fucking boring.
It's a socially acceptable way to launder money.
Yes, like you walk around, you look at all the great pieces, you point at some great like Greek statue and say like, "Hey, it has a little dick there," and somebody like one of the watchers is like, "How dare you? You should know better. This is the statue of like Little Dickus the First, and that's it starts off well, right? It looks great. It's the idea of the city on the hill, right? The great society. Right. The names change from year to year.
Sure.
But it's give me your something masses, right?
Yeah.
But it's always boring for the regular Joe. And I forgot to introduce the three characters I made up just because I was trying. I had a very kind of existential experience. I was alone, I think, in a hotel and on a case, and I was just thinking about my place in the American society. It was shortly before the election, this latest election, and three characters are the regular Joe, the working pro, and the money bag. Working Joe is you're working class, but not always the working class. Whatever people who don't have health insurance, basically, right? People with no teeth. One always. Sorry, I don't mean it in a shitty way, but basically people who are like basically at the bottom of the social hierarchy, right?
Yeah, it's harder for them to access, basic human rights.
Yeah, basically, yeah, exactly. Like I don't mean it in a way that like they deserve it, but
no, for sure.
The regular Joe always loses.
Mm-hmm.
The working pro in the middle always has the next gig coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one who helps to operate the museum. He doesn't like museum. He doesn't dislike the museum. He's just
it's a job.
It's a job. He's qualified. He's fucking qualified, and that's one thing that is always with him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's never rich, but he has the next gig always.
Mm-hmm.
And then the money bag always wins in every cycle. So in the museum, the money bag subsidizes it somewhat, but it's quiet, it's regulated.
Mm-hmm.
It's the money bag has their just time to take a breath. And then at some point the regular Joe says like, okay, to hell with this shit. Like, look, little Dickus the First has a little dick, and you don't tell me that he doesn't. Like, shut the fuck up. It's boring. Fuck this. And then the party of the casino shows up and says, the people have spoken. Mm-hmm. I have the great mandate. And immediately, so you have a disco ball hanging under the roof of the museum. The statue of the little Dickus the First gets painted. Like there is like literal slot machines, just like pulling out of the wall.
Right.
And the casino goes on. Right. Blackjack, hookers, good old ultraviolence, deregulation, and it's great. Like it's absolutely like the house is lit until everyone goes bust.
Right.
Regular Joe loses all the money. The working pro was running the casino, has run a museum, like whatever comes next after casino, probably he's going to be the one who cleans up like all the paint from Little Dickus the First, right? And like the next gig goes on. Just change to a different suit, right? Now you're gonna be like the one cleaning the Little Dickus, that's all. And then the money bag is staying with all the money. And if everything goes bust, if the entire system goes bust, working pro will have another house to work. Moneybag wins and just flies away like Mary fucking Poppins.
Mm-hmm.
And the regular Joe is holding the bag. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my theory of the system, and it was very depressing because I'm the working pro here. I'm the working pro in that system.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I it really rings true. I have very much been working pro much of my working adult career. I used to be in luxury sales, and I will tell you one thing: from boom to bust, from financial, good times to bad times, the one people that are never affected are the really rich guys. They would always come in and buy the shit. They're never affected.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you buy the shit because it's good times, and you buy the shit because it's bad times. So
yes, exactly.
It's always just, have you tried to be fucking rich?
Yeah. The rich guys that never bought it, they would still come in and buy shit. They would still come in and buy shit.
Yeah, and it's different from the Russian system.
And they
right?
complain about it. They complain about it and like, oh, I shouldn't be buying this. But they still buy the shit. They still...
I can't relate to that at all.
Well, you buy the shit, but do you buy the shit that they buy, right?
No, I'm not buying like a 4-pack of beer. Like,
I'm talking like watches, clothing, luxury shit that like nobody needs, but people aspire to buy, and people would come in and like to buy.
I've just started replacing 15-year-old socks. I'm doing good.
You know what? For once I see a friend in the audience. It's I think it's part of just ultimate Slavic experience.
Mm.
You just patch your socks and you patch your socks again. It's just you cannot give up this stuff. Like I can buy new socks. It's just
it doesn't occur to me. Like I have the weirdest hole in this one that I can't get rid of it for that. It's just near my ankle. It doesn't. My toe's not poking out. My heel's not exposed. It's fine. and the thing is it's like I could be doing this the whole time. I just haven't. That's all. It's just one of those things where I'm like, I'd rather not think about that.
I know how to darn my socks. I just wear them with the holes. I don't care.
Yeah.
If I can find a match nowadays, I'm like, yay, I'm fancy.
any situation where I'm going to find myself having to like worry about that, it's going to be too late and everything will already be on fire. So like, I'll be all right. I appreciate the new socks. So I'm happy
You
about
see,
that.
I have new socks. I just don't wear them because I'm saving the new socks for the time when I really have to wear new socks.
Exactly.
And
This is
I'll
why we're
pass them to my
friends.
grandchildren. I'll be like, I had this sock since the time when, we had
Do you
running
guys
water.
remember Skibbity
Running
Toilet?
water.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
You can buy blind boxes of it at Walmart.
I know. Good Lord. What is happening? Well, basically, history's rhyming.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's all it is. I was going to say that, Oleg, too. I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be like what's so interesting about like what you'd posted before. It was just this like idea of it isn't 1-to-1, but it's only because if you list everything in column A and then you list everything in column B, the lines don't go straight across. They just kind of they'll cross each other a little bit.
There's a resonance. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a resonance here. Like all of the elements are in play. All of the intentions are in play. The same intentions are in play. That's the most direct. It's just human mortal beings imagining themselves to be much more than they are and causing harm because of it. You know what I mean? Like they just want to be worshipped and then they're not even happy. Why do we bother?
Amen.
But then they get angry about it and then they'll whatever sell you out. There was an article recently and it made me I read the title of it and I laughed. I don't know who put it out. I don't know if it was Fortune or like Financial Times or something, but the headline was something along the lines of the right is really worried about a liberal uprising on January 6th. And it's like, you mean after calling, like the right was calling like all of the actual right-wingers who invaded the White House on January 6th, Antifa.
Yeah, they're calling them
now
Antifa.
worried about Antifa coming to do it again?
No, fuck.
Or for the first time?
You.
Like, which time? Yeah, no. So, dude, Antifa was sitting home watching it on several fucking windows on their computer, from just different angles and different YouTube channels and different...
But wasn't it the day of wrath?
Oh, man. No, it was a day of me sitting in my basement ready to speed dial, like, tea, be like, yo, shut down the salon, rinse everybody's hair, get the fuck out.
No, I was working from home that day, just like watching the whole thing unfold on live TV, like 20 minutes away across the bridge. I'm like, should we be working during the coup? How does this?
Yeah, how's this? What's the protocol?
Can I bill time for this? I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up, I gotta announce that I was 5 years old when Yeltsin had a little filibuster going on in the parliament. And he said, fuck the shit. He called the tank division into Moscow and essentially bombarded the entire parliament building with fucking tanks. I mean, tank ordnance shells.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, I'm dead inside. To me, it was not an experience that really shook me to the core. I was like, well, I guess you can do it without tanks. Yeah. And on that note, I think we need to keep gathering because I think this is a developing story. And I mean, the Pindos Putinism, let's go this way, Americana Putinism, is going to be developing. I don't know. It's going to. Things are named after the fact, right?
Right.
Like Putinism wasn't Putinism until it was Putinism. It's also developing, by the way. It's the grandpa is still alive.
Well, I mean, the other thing we have to consider, I want to say, like, not to draw this out into a whole other conversation, but Putin is a lot more competent and has more of a plan and a vision, and he was younger when he started this shit than Trump is now. So, the scary thing is who's putting this up.
Right.
Well,
and
I guess we're going to find out.
Right. No, like, who's going to make it? Because, like, the thing about it is, like, as we're recording this, we're in the midst of all these cabinet positions being debated. And look, it's just a given that they're all probably going to get through. Because, the most heinous one is probably going to get through and be the Fox guy.
Yeah, it's looking good for Hegseth. Looking good for Pam Bondi. Looking good for both of them.
And it's like, of course, I'm just taking that as a given. But like how you remember last time, Trump can't stand people. He'll kick them the fuck out. He was doing this on the regular.
Mhm.
Went through several cabinets over the course of his 4 years. And I don't think it's going to be that much different this time. I'm just waiting for like things that seem like inevitabilities. For example, like, can Trump like live? Like, is he healthy enough to do this? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about like, oh, he needs to die. Like, whatever, he will. Like, we're all mortal. Who gives a fuck? Whatever he thinks, it's true. He doesn't look good. He looks like a sentient, McDonald's processing machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried about that just because Vance is just such a cretin. Like most Ohioans don't realize the fact that he was working to basically sell Ohio territory to like foreign companies, foreign interests this entire time, talking about America, and it's just like, you people, as long as you hear the words gods, guns, and fucking, I don't know, I guess like hebophilia, you guys will vote for Trump. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I can think of. These people don't seem that competent though. Like, the most competent one in the last crop was like, well, yeah, but not like, are people really going to listen to these fucks? You know what I mean? Like, are you really going to take that order? Is there any way out? If Pete Hegseth is just like, you know what? Nova Scotia's had it coming. Load up a fucking missile.
Or shoot the protesters in the knees. Try and get them in the knees.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is going to be just bad comedy too, on top of it all.
It's definitely going to be engrossing. It's definitely going to be
like engrossing in that way where you're like being polite by having like the meathead over, but like they don't have anything interesting to talk about, but they won't leave. That's what this feels like.
So in Russia, they say you're not a man unless you have served your term in prison or served your term in the army. And so Russia historically is not bouncing between museum and casino. It's bouncing between a prison and the army. So let's just say, yes, the barracks either way. Yes. So let's just say we got to meet again.
Yeah.
And I'm sleepy. It's dark in Chicago, and
yes.
I need to refill my kefir cup. My little glass of kefir, and I promise I'm only drinking kefir, will be refilled. And next time we're gonna talk about, I don't know, I hope I will celebrate, because I hope Ukraine will win that war, but we'll see, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. We'll see. So
yeah. We'll talk about whatever, dog. Like, this has been very informative.
Yes.
This has been fun. I'll make sure to drop some more words and more. This time I'll come with videos and like references, like lots of obscure stuff that just people don't pay attention to. Oh my God, I just had a couple of... Anyways, I'll save them.
Okay.
Well, a lot more.
Next time, CoinOps, bring the poutine.
Yes.
Putin, yes.
Poutine.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, it's the Low Life Podcast.
Do you know anything about hackers? You jam the Council of Cowboys and Circus Babies? Ever read Neuromancer? Ever experienced the new wave? Next wave? Dream wave? Or cyberpunk? I didn't think so. In the it's a world where you can do the same thing. I'm going to do like that. A world where creativity and imagination. I'd buy that for $1. Hide the planet! Hide the planet! Hide the planet! Hide the planet!
Shut up and get in the car. Go away, Baton.